Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of Behind the Closed Doors. And today it's time for the workshop Small Flash, or as some people call it, speed lights, or the little strobe that can do everything. It's all about, well, the speed lights, the system strobes, and of course small flash. Now, what is small flash? It's those little strobes that you put on your camera. But the first thing I'm going to teach the students today is take it off camera, because then it becomes way more interesting. So join us for today's episode of Behind the Closed Doors. If you like what we do, subscribe to our channel, leave comments below, smash that like button, because we really like that. But most of all, tell other people about it, because this week we actually reached 25,000 subscribers. Thank you so very much. Well, let's start the workshop. Let's go. Oh, and look who's really happy to see me. It's Chewy. It's like he didn't see me for a year. Oh. Maybe not so smart to do that when there's a dog. Hey. Actually, the first thing I have to do today is retouch the images from yesterday. Yesterday we had the glamour workshop with Shayna. Today it's the small flash workshop, and that means that I have this attitude that always before I start something new, I have to finish the old stuff. Now sometimes that's not possible, but in my opinion it's a really good work ethic, because that means that at that point you don't have any work waiting for you. And if there's something that really frustrates the heck out of me, is if I know that I still have to do something. So I want to always start with a clean slate. So I'm going to retouch the images from Shayna from yesterday, and then the workshop small flash. Okay, set number one is actually very simple. I just explained some stuff about ETTL, shooting on manual mode, and we just show a very simple portrait where we start out with no modification at all, just the plain bare strobe, and of course the zoom function, which creates awesome effects. And then we actually switch over to the flash bender. Of course, the Frank Doro flash bender from Rogue Expo Imaging. Now, the cool thing about the Frank Doro flash bender is actually that it has a soft silver surface. So that gives you a little bit more sparkle in the image, and it just creates beautiful portraits. And outside, it gives you also a little bit more extra light. So set one, very simple, but very effective. For set number 2, it was time to go outside, experiment with HSS or high speed sync. In other words, shooting on insanely high shutter speeds and using strobes. Normally, of course, this is limited because of your shutter speed and, of course, well, your shutter curtain. If you shoot on a too high shutter speed, you will actually see a black bar on top of your frame or on the sides, depending on how you hold your camera. That's actually your second shutter curtain. Now, there are many different ways to break this, for example with high sync, hyper sync or high speed sync. High speed sync, in my opinion, is one of the best solutions for the very simple reason it pulsates on 50 Hz and it gives you a beautiful option to also use your light meter, which with hypersync and HS, high sync, is not possible. So I love using that light meter, and using high speed sync actually makes it possible to use the meter. The cool thing about this is that you can actually shoot on 2.8, let's say on 8,000ths of a second, and you still have a proper exposure, and the backdrop is really dark and you have a nice shallow depth of field. Now, don't think that when you shoot on normal mode, like for example 1/200th of a second, you will have a totally different look. This is often misunderstood. It's very simple to explain. If you're shooting on full manual power on your strobe without using high speed sync, you get a lot of power from that strobe. So let's say you're shooting on f13 or f16, ISO 100, 125th of a second. So the backdrop will be really dark, but you have shallow depth of field nowhere. It's sharp from front to the back. For the very simple reason you're shooting f16 or f13 or whatever, but you're shooting in a high aperture. At that point, when you start to switch to HSS, you can shoot on a very high shutter speed, for example 1/8000th of a second. The problem is the strobe at that point will output a lot less power. So forget about shooting on f13 or f16, you're going to shoot on f2.8 and probably also around that 1/4000th, 1/8000th of a second. In the end, if you're shooting on full manual power, the sky will be just as dark as on high speed sync. The only real difference is that with high speed sync you get that wonderful shallow depth of field, so you don't have a picture that's sharp from front to end. Now this varies a little bit per strobe, of course. Some strobes will perform with high speed sync a little bit better than on full power. Some strobes will do the other way around. But in essence, high speed sync, the main advantage is kill the ambient light with shallow depth of field. The main advantage of shooting manual without high speed sync is killing ambient light with a lot of depth of field. And because both options are available on the strobe, you can just shoot whatever you want and what fits your purpose. Okay, let's go to the next scene, and that's actually we're inside. For the next setup, we use a spot in our studio which I absolutely love to shoot in, and some students, well, they don't like it. That's an inside joke. And this is a set where we actually have strong leading lines from the walls, and I just love placing a model there and just do some funky stuff like really low angles or straight on. So the first shot is actually straight on. The second shot is me sitting on the floor and just shooting up. So I just love that setup, but hey, some people don't like that setup a lot. But for me, it's still very much a challenge to create some cool images in that location. And let's be honest, it's all personal taste, right? Okay, for the final setup, one strip light on our model, of course the Rogue Flash Bender with soft silver, and a grid. I really like to have that narrow beam of light. And in the back, a blue gel. Now of course you can shoot this just normally with your model posing, but it's way interesting if you let your model just turn around very violently and just time that shot, add a little bit of lens flare. I just love that setup.